Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going on a pretty amazing journey deep inside the human body. We're going to follow the path of urine, from the second it's made all the way to, well, you know. It's a fantastic story of biology, some seriously smart engineering, and just perfect coordination. So let's get right into it.
First up, let me ask you something. How is it even possible for your body to store up to a liter of liquid? That's basically a whole carton of juice and not spring a leak. I mean, think about it. It sounds impossible, but it's happening inside every one of us, all thanks to a system that's part high-tech reservoir and part super smart computer.
So to get our heads around this incredible feat, we need to meet the main players in our body's internal plumbing. We're going to follow the flow from the factory, down the pipes, to the reservoir, and right to the exit gate, seeing how each part plays its own absolutely crucial role. Okay, so here's our roadmap. Our journey kicks off right here, in the kidneys. These guys work 24/7, filtering our blood and making urine. From there, you can see the urine travels down these two long tubes. Those are the ureters, and it all collects in this muscular sac at the bottom, the urinary bladder. This is the exact path we're taking today.
First stop on our tour, those tubes. They might just look like a couple of simple pipes, but trust me, the ureters are way more than that. They are active, muscular highways on a one-way mission to get urine down to the bladder, and they do it with some serious efficiency.
I might think gravity does all the work, right? Nope.
These 25 to 30 centimeter tubes have walls made of smooth muscle that actually squeeze in these little rhythmic waves. It's a process called peristalsis to actively push the urine along drop by drop. And that inner lining, it's all folded up so it can easily stretch every time a little pulse of fluid passes through.
And if you could zoom in and look at a slice of one of these tubes, it's just brilliant. You can see this thick, muscular wall, and see that star-shaped thing in the center? That's the channel, all folded up when it's empty. When a bit of urine comes through, it expands and then snaps right back. It's a truly dynamic, powerful pipe.
Of course, like any busy highway, you've got potential bottlenecks or traffic jams. There are 3 spots along each ureter that are naturally a bit narrower. The first is right where the tube leaves the kidney. The second is where it has to cross over some major blood vessels. And the third is the final tunnel as it enters the bladder wall. And yep, these are the exact spots where painful kidney stones usually get stuck.
All right, after that trip down the ureters, the urine arrives at its final holding area, the bladder. Now please, don't just picture some simple floppy bag. This thing is a highly intelligent, super expandable muscular reservoir. You gotta think of it more like a smart water balloon.
The real muscle behind the operation is this powerful interwoven wall called the detrusor muscle. When it's time to go, this is the muscle that gives that big squeeze. And you can also see this smoother, triangular area at the bottom. That's called the trigone. It's basically a little junction box where the 2 ureters enter and the urethra, the exit pipe, begins.
And the capacity is just incredible. While you'll definitely start to feel the urge to go long before this point, the bladder can actually stretch to hold as much as a full liter of urine in certain situations. That's wild. Of course, it varies from person to person, but the engineering that allows for that kind of expansion is just awesome.
So what's the secret? How does it expand like that without just popping? Well, the magic is in its special lining, called the urothelium. In the picture on the left, you can see that when the bladder's empty, the lining is all thick and folded up, kind of like origami. But as it fills, like you see on the right, all those folds flatten out and the cells themselves stretch thin. It's an amazing way to dramatically increase the surface area.
But that's not all this lining does. It's not just stretchy. It's also basically waterproof. And this is so important. You see, urine is full of waste products our body is trying to get rid of. This special barrier makes sure none of those waste products can leak back into our bloodstream, and it also keeps precious water inside our body.
Okay, so the bladder's filling up. The low fuel light is about to come on. What happens next? This is where things get really fascinating. The decision to actually go isn't just about a valve opening. It's a super sophisticated process involving nerve signals and muscle coordination. The fancy word for it is micturition.
So it all starts when you've got about 200 to 300 milliliters of liquid in there. It's not a lot, really, less than a can of soda. At that point, special little stretch receptors in the bladder wall get triggered, and they send the first signal up to the spinal cord that basically says, hey, just a heads up, we're starting to get full down here.
And this whole operation is run from a central control panel. We're talking about a super complex network of nerves that connect the bladder to the spinal cord and run all the way up to the brain. This system is what gives us both automatic reflexes and, most importantly, our conscious control over when and where we go.
Let's break down this nerve control team. It's kind of like you have 3 managers, each with one very specific job. The pelvic nerves send the go signal, telling the bladder muscle to squeeze. The hypogastric nerves send the wait signal, telling the bladder to just relax and keep filling. And finally, the pudendal nerve. That's your veto power. It gives you the conscious, voluntary control over that final gatekeeper muscle.
Okay, let's walk through the whole thing, step by step. It's a pretty neat little dance. First, the bladder fills and its walls stretch. Second, those stretch receptors fire off a signal to the spinal cord. Third, the spinal cord starts a reflex telling the bladder muscle to start squeezing. Fourth, your brain gets the message, and that's when you feel that, urgent feeling. And finally, fifth, when the time is right, your brain gives the final okay. You consciously relax that external sphincter, and there you go.
You can see it's this incredibly delicate dance between muscles and nerves. And you really, really appreciate how perfect that balance is when you see what happens if that communication line gets cut.
So, for example, what if those sensory nerves that are supposed to shout, "Hey, we're full," get damaged? Well, then you get something called an atonic bladder. It just keeps filling up and eventually overflows, and you might not even feel it. Or if a spinal injury cuts off communication with the brain, that automatic reflex can just take over, leading to uncontrolled emptying. It just goes to show how vital every single piece of that control system really is.
So we've seen these incredible self-squeezing pipes, this smart, stretchy reservoir, and this super sophisticated nerve control panel. What's the big idea here? What's the main takeaway from this whole journey?
It's this. Your urinary system is so much more than just simple plumbing. It's a smart, living, dynamic system. It's an intelligent, self-regulating process of pure muscular action and neurological control that is working nonstop to keep you healthy. It really is a daily marvel of biological engineering happening inside you right now. Thanks so much for joining me.